Okay, hi folks. Another round of DM60 intro to web design, essentially web design with HTML and CSS. We're recording, and this will be posted on the YouTube channel as all the other ones are. Same URL. I'll do that tonight after class. I'm a bit ragged tonight. We're not going to go for a 3-hour class tonight, which may make you happy or sad. I'm not sure. But we'll go at least an hour or so, but I'll be honest with you, I'm extremely ragged, and it's been a crazy day. So what we have is we have 3 weeks left. There are no more exercises to cover, but the final project is the thing at this point in time that you want to start working on. So I'll be talking about the final project in some more detail. We talked about it a little last week. I will, of course, go over your questions on the last thing we did. I know there's questions on style sheets, printing, that kind of stuff. So we will go over those things as well. Oh, hi, we got a few more folks. Hi, Leslie. And so for those who just joined a second ago, hi. I was just saying that I'm pretty ragged. We're not going to do a 3-hour class tonight. I hope that's okay with you. I've been up since 5:30 working, and much of that time in Zoom. We went to press with the comic news this morning, another one of my jobs, and I am kind of exhausted and just feeling a bit like ready to die. So we'll go at least an hour, hour and a half. I don't think we're going to go 3 hours unless I make a cup of coffee during the break, which I should do anyway. As I was saying before some of you joined, we're going to talk about the final project. We have 3 weeks left, and so talking about the final project, what's going to happen in the last 3 weeks, what you should be looking at. I'm going to talk about answer questions on last week. I know there are lots of questions on last week, and we'll take it from there. I do want to talk a bit about accessibility. I was going to, I think next week, or maybe I can schedule something for later this week, or just do a video on Flexbox. But that's a much longer, it's a little more involved. So like I said, I don't think I can go 3 hours tonight. So we're not gonna do that tonight, but I am gonna. So let me start with general and specific questions. Any general questions or questions on what we covered last week? I know that exercise last week was probably the longest one of the 10 exercises. It did kind of put a lot of things together in one exercise for you. So let me start with some questions on that. How did that go? I know was it Josh? Somebody had a question.
Yeah, it was me.
And Gary has a question. Well, let me start with Josh, because Josh was.
I wasn't so sure if I did the screen and print screen right.
Okay.
It was a bit like, that was the only part that I had a little trouble with, but outside of that, everything was pretty straightforward for me.
Good. Why do you think it's not working? Because when you do a print preview, you don't see what you think you're going to see?
The thing is, yeah, that's one thing, is I feel like it doesn't print out. I don't know if I have the code in there right, because I did use the screen view class for the div and that bottom part that you had showed us last class. So
okay, well, let me share my screen, unless you can share. Actually, let me share my screen, and we'll take a look.
Yeah, mine should already be in the.
It's already uploaded, right? So we can do it. I can do it from here. Okay. Hope everybody's feeling good and safe today. Uh-oh. Oh, that's right. Do you see? I'm not sure. Do you see your? Why is that showing up? Let's see. Can you see that window?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And this will pretty much cover what I had my hand raised about, because I wasn't able to get to this part at the end. I did everything but this.
So this is exercise 10. And Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Good. I see a nice curly quote. I see a copyright sign. We're looking good. Love to see these curly quotes. Okay.
The only thing that I completely forgot to like take account for when I was putting in the curly quotes, like doing the whole replace thing, was
Mhm.
that I forgot that when you had to do the quotations when doing the class
Mm-hmm.
part, I forgot to like leave those out of it. I had to go back and change all those.
Okay. You gotta, okay, so just a couple things before we get into detail. Let's take a quick look at the layout you've got here. You've got a lot of very dense text without paragraph breaks, so you haven't put your paragraphs in. As you remember, the whole thing it should be very many paragraphs, and this is one giant paragraph. So right off the bat, the first thing I notice is you gotta break all your paragraphs with P and NP. That's a must. This is just you see that solid wall of text? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of intense. So you're going to do that one, right? You're going to get your
yeah, I'll work
paragraph.
on that.
That will really make this look a bit better. I see you've got the images placed with the poem. That's good. You've got, like, you have some margin space here, which is good, but you need some air between the text and some of these images. I'm just going from some general things first, if that's okay with you. You've got like
Yeah,
that
I
looks
mean,
good there.
it looks a little different. The way I'm looking at it on your browser, it looks a little different because I had mine at my browser at full screen,
Well,
and then I'm also using Google Chrome to look at it, and it looked different on mine. That's why I'm like,
really? Okay. I'll pull up
I mean,
Chrome in the meantime, but it shouldn't look that different from Safari to Chrome.
that part with the guy in the ground, like upside down, that part does need some space between the picture and
Yeah,
the.
yeah. So there's some space issues that you want to fix. Again, you don't have any of your paragraphs in, which really just make this a giant wall of text, and so that's a must. You want some paragraph breaks in there. Now there
Okay.
are generally two ways to format paragraphs. You can do space between each paragraph vertically, which is called secondary leading, or you could indent the beginning of each paragraph, usually except for the first paragraph. But you want to do one of those two, and since it's a lot of text, I would separate them with some space between each paragraph, just because otherwise it's a complete wall of text. So those are some general things. The gray background and the black text is not the highest contrast. So that background to me is just a little on the dark side for readability. I do want to talk about accessibility too tonight. So contrast will come up. So we'll talk about contrast later. The blue text for the poem, it's not that there's anything really wrong with it, but blue text in the web generally indicates links. So lots of times people
Oh,
avoid using blue for general text.
okay.
And I would generally avoid using blue for text unless that text is a link, because it does, that is a convention on the web for web styling.
What's the
So,
most known
and it's
like
also very hard to read on the gray background. Again, that gray
any
background
colors
could be
like would
different.
you
Pardon?
any recommendation for colors when it comes to things like
Well,
that?
almost anything except
Any like
blue.
recommendations for colors?
Almost anything
All right.
except blue. But again, your foreground and background colors play with each other. So what you choose
Yeah.
for your text color and what you choose for your background color should really work well together. And the blue and the black, neither of those seem to work that well. It looks like my Chrome is finally launching. Neither of those seem to work that well on the dark gray background.
Can I make a suggestion on the readability of the colors?
Please.
If you go to the CSS colors page on the W3 school, it gives you a bunch of colors, and when you click on it, it actually shows you text colors with the background that you choose,
right?
And that way you can
there are actually quite a number of those color picker tools.
Yeah, it's really nice,
and that's helpful. They're helpful. I'm going to look at. Thank you, Rebecca. If we have time, we'll go there, but I'm not sure. sure we'll get there on that exact page tonight, but I do want to look at this in Chrome. And my computer is a bit on the slow side here because they don't pay me enough to buy new computers every year. I'm just an adjunct. But I know somebody's smiling over there. Hi, Leslie. Your hand's up.
I'm sorry. I was laughing at your joke.
Yeah. A sad joke, but true.
Are you going to talk about accessibility and colors? Because that's another issue that one should know about when one is choosing colors, because some people can't see red or the difference between red and green, etc. Just thought that was apropos for the moment.
Yes, I'm going to talk about I'm going to go to WebAIM and talk about using the Wave accessibility tool. I don't know if you've used that.
I have it in my browser.
Yeah, so I'm going to show people that tool, and one of the things you can do in your final project is you can put a link to that tool for each page, so you can click on the link and it will test your page, and you'll get points for that on your final. So that's one of the things I want to go over. So here it is in Chrome, and I still see the same issues here with that space on the sides of the images here. So that's just a little too tight.
What would I would just make the margin a little different under the photo box, right?
No, what I'm talking about is the left margin on the image here, or the right margin on the block of text, either. Like you've done it well here. The right margin on this image looks good, but the left margin on this image doesn't. So it looks like you have margins set on the right of the images, but not the left. So you want to also set margins on the left. See what I'm saying? The text shouldn't come and touch the box of the image. That's just a bit too close.
I'm looking for that right now, trying to find it.
Okay, so now I'm sorry. So that was just a very short, minor critique. Again, the main thing is you need to break up your paragraphs, and I would recommend lightening up the background color for contrast. But you had the question on the printing. Now, anytime something is not working the way you think it should work, what's the first step of troubleshooting? First step always of troubleshooting a web page?
Validate the code.
Validate your HTML and then your CSS. So let's start with that, because if that's not right, then that becomes what we need to focus on. It looks like you've got a typo in the link. Let me try the CSS link. Yeah, your code has typos in it, so I can't even validate from here. So that's the first thing you need to fix. So I'm going to have to look at your code. This is definitely not right. That's too bad, because I want to. So let's see. I'm looking at the link here. I don't know if you can see that where it shows up under the window. Can you see that link? I'm looking at it. The link actually looks correct, so something's going on. But if I click on it, okay, I don't know if you can see this.
Maybe it's my screen.
I don't know if you can see this, but there's some garbage characters which I see here. This is very interesting. You see that? What? The generic term for that is garbage characters, but there's actually something more going on. This is a character encoding issue, which you don't usually see these days. Now let me go back, and if we scroll over the link, and do you see at the bottom of your window? Do you see that link text, which is down here when my mouse is over it? Do you see that?
Yeah, we see it.
You see the garbage characters are not in there, are they? Yet when I click on it,
nope.
it says that the link has these weird characters in it. So there's a problem here. Okay. Well, this is interesting. It's starting with the HTTP over here. Okay, so we have to look at the actual code to figure this out. But there's definitely some kind of weird problem with your link. And is your CSS link same thing? Yeah, you've got some really weird stuff going on here. Did you save your page in a text editor as UTF-8? You didn't by any small chance throw this through Microsoft Word as part of your workflow by any small chance?
I don't have Microsoft Word.
Did you do
so-
any of this coding in a text editor that was like more like a word processor than a
No,
intake?
I use Notepad++.
Okay, Notepad++ didn't result in that, so something else is going on. So I actually need to look at your real code. So to do that, I am going to, this Zoom thing blocks everything. This is weird.
Josh, was your problem, did you say your problem was that when you went to print it, you couldn't see?
I wasn't sure if I had the coding inside of the
Well, I
screen or
saved it as a PDF and opened it, and it does say that it's printed. It looks correct.
Your number, Josh, ends in 670. You're one of these, right? Let's see. There you are. That's you. Okay, let's take a look. Exercise 10.
Oh, that's mine.
Interesting. Okay, exercise 10. There it is. Let's take this into brackets. Yeah, I'm going to put that here. All right, I want to scroll down to the bottom. And I don't see anything. Oh, here, yeah, I see the problem. Okay, yeah, here's the problem. Do you guys see the problem by any small chance?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody see a problem here?
Oh my God.
Yeah. The curly quotes are not what you want to use in URLs. You need to have those not be curly quotes. The curly quotes are for display, but for anything other than display, like stuff that's in code, you don't want to use the curly quotes. So in your search and replace, what happened was you accidentally changed these quotes, and that breaks the link. So so what you need, see how these are correct here, right? But you need to go fix that and that and that and that, and then the links will work to the validator. So you've got to fix that. And since the link to the validator isn't working right, I'm kind of assuming you didn't validate this code.
No.
See, your code told on you.
I wasn't trying to like validate it yet because I wasn't sure if my screen thing was right or wrong. So I was
you know what though? I have to reiterate this over and over again. The first step in troubleshooting is validating your code. The first step. So when you say you didn't get to it yet and something's not working, it's you're doing it in the wrong order. So I really can't emphasize that enough. It's a time saver. You will actually save more time by working with valid code when you're trying to get things to work than by working with invalid code. And your code may be perfectly valid, but we can't know that yet till we pass it through the validator. Now, while your links aren't working, I can still validate it. It just takes me extra steps. I can copy. Oh, did you upload it?
I just re-uploaded it. Yeah, I just re-uploaded it. Now it's giving me an error in the validations.
There we go. Okay, so now we can really start troubleshooting. Yeah, hand up, Leslie.
Oh, I just wondered, I was just sort of curious how that happened, and because the assignment is about putting curly quotes on things, is there a shortcut in the code tool, whatever you call that, text editor for code, that would introduce that if you had a setting on or something? Is that something that happened
the problem is that if you already have that text in there and you do a search and replace, it's just going to search for any double quote and change it to curly. And I think that's probably what happened. Yeah, I think
probably. Did you do a replace all?
It was a simple search and replace error. That's all.
Yeah.
And
Just
so
know how those things
I didn't even think that that would happen. That doesn't generally happen on this exercise. I haven't seen that before. So you did the search and replace after you put the validator buttons in and everything on. And that actually can cause trouble in a number of ways, especially if you have classes and IDs and other parts of the code. So the way that if you, and I know everybody doesn't do it the way I structure it, but if you actually go through the directions in the step-by-step manner in which I outline it, that wouldn't have occurred because I asked you to do this first on the text, on the text file before you put it into your HTML. Because once you put in HTML, now you've got other stuff in the code. And now you've got all kinds of quotation marks that should not be curly. So it's just an occupational hazard of search and replace. You have to be very careful when you use search and replace because it's powerful. It just blows through your document. But now let's try it this time. And okay. It's still not working, right?
It worked on my end.
Oh, there it is. Yes, it is working now. I didn't see this. No P element in scope, but a PN tag seen. Okay, well, that's a simple one. That's not a big deal. You have an ending paragraph tag that doesn't have a beginning paragraph tag on line number
235.
235.
And so 235, there it is. So that's an ending paragraph. Now, here, let me show you a trick, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Since you've got, if I take, what am I in? I'm in brackets, right? No, I'm in the web browser. Okay, so you can do a search and replace. You can make it your friend, not your enemy. You can add all those paragraph beginnings and endings because see, you've got the text. What you wanted to do before you got to this stage was do search and replace for the paragraphs. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but do you see that and that? 2 carriage returns in a row?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you have between every paragraph 2 carriage returns, which gives you an idea of how you can use search and replace instead of manually having to throw in a P and /P in the beginning and end of every paragraph. So what you want in this text to put all your paragraphs in is to say any instance of 2 consecutive carriage returns should be replaced with a /P beginning P. And that will do 95% of your paragraph coding right off the bat. Then you just have to add a couple in the beginning and end.
So where
See
the
what I'm saying?
first return is, you put a open P and then the bottom put a closed one? Is that...
No, it's one operation. You search for a carriage return. You replace with /P, P. Okay, so if I take, I'm going to take a block of this code. Let's say, I'll just take it down to there, okay? And I'm going to copy that code. And I am going to paste it into this text editor, right? Now, if I can do a find, let's see, find and file replace. Here we go. This is what I want. Okay, so I'm going to find, and I'm going to literally see if I can just copy that. Because you can't like type a carriage return into that box, but you can do that. And now, if I paste, see I've got 2 carriage returns in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, I've got to go back to replace. And now I'm going to replace with /P, P. See that? Can you see that?
Yeah.
So in other words, that will turn into a /P and that will turn into a P. And I am going to replace and no results. It doesn't like the carriage returns. What if I hit return? Will that work? No. This text editor, I have to figure out what it wants for a carriage return. In Microsoft Word, a _P is a carriage return for the purpose of search and replace. So it literally would look like this. that would in Microsoft Word, that represents 2 carriage returns. In this text editor, I'm not sure. I'll try it. No. So in this text editor, I would have to find out what it uses in terms of special coding for carriage returns.
That's not that's an end of line. I mean, that would be a different code in Word too, but I don't know what it is.
I'm going to open up Word just to see.
Because they're 2 different things. The P, caret P is the pilcrow.
Right, which is, oh wait, that's supposed to be a carriage return.
Soft return. It's a soft, isn't that a soft return? But it wasn't even acting like any kind of return.
It should be a hard return. Okay, see, in the original text, it's a hard return. I'm not sure what happened between the original text and...
I don't think I have my facts straight, but...
well, the text editor I'm very familiar with is this one, the one I work in all the time, which is Text Wrangler. But I'm using this brackets here because I can display it more largely. But I'm gonna take all that text. Text Wrangler. I know a little better, so I'm gonna put this in Text Wrangler. Oops, no, not that. All this. Copy, paste. There we go. Now in Text Wrangler, you see, I can say search, replace. Oh, no, sorry. Find, replace something, replace to end. I'm sorry, find, there it is. Now, so in Text Wrangler, let me see if I can literally copy those 2 invisible characters. Okay, and I'm going to replace with /p, p. Okay. Replace all. And now you see that this will put all my carriage returns in. But you know what? I'm going to undo that. Now, to make it more visually easy to see, I am going to, let's see here. Here we go. That's not it. There should be a special carriage return character. No, that's not it. I can't hit return. Yeah, it's the pilcrow that I want, but every word processing program seems to do it differently. So let's go back to the search. And what I want to do here is, what is the Text Wrangler equivalent of a carriage return for the purpose of this? Let's see if I can find it. It used to be a drop down, and it's not anymore, is it? Okay. I'm gonna, maybe it is the caret P in this one as well. Let me try something.
Do you know if Google Docs has anything like that? So I can.
Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Do you know if Google Docs has something like that, where it like shows?
I don't know. You mean a search and replace function? Well, yeah, it's probably not as developed as the one in Word, but it does have something. I don't know about the editing tools in Google Docs. But anyway, in whatever text editor you use, what you want to do is look at the help files, find out what, for a purpose of search and replace, how to indicate a carriage return. Because I can't just paste it in. Sometimes it's like a \p. Let me try that. Or a /p.
John?
Yeah.
I think it's N/N for a new line.
Ah, is this in,
It's just, it seems like
so maybe it's slash
well, I hate to
P.
say universal.
Let's try slash P.
I just did a web search for generally what we're looking for.
And what did it say, slash P?
/N for new line. And that's also the code for that kind of a character in InDesign. I know that's pretty
Let's
remote
try
from what
that
we're
in
doing.
here. Oh, it didn't work. They see how it put in a /N. I wanted it actually to put a real carriage return in so that there would be physical carriage returns between the blocks of text. I mean, for the purpose of HTML code, we don't have to do this. What the original thing I did is actually fine. It's just, see, for the purpose of HTML code, this works fine doing it this way. But I wanted to keep these spaces between everything. So anyway, that does fix the problem in terms of the code because you have /pp, blah, 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 /pp, blah, blah, blah. So that will do all your carriage returns for you. So you can just do it that way and not worry about what it looks like in the code. I was just trying to make it look easier to read in the code. But anyway, that works fine. So, but you have to do that, Josh. You have to put those carriage returns in. So going back to, okay, so anyway, your /p, that's just a little error. So you need to basically have p/p at the beginning and end of every paragraph. But that said, let's find out what's going on with your printing.
Okay.
Now what I'm going to do is check your CSS. So you will have to fix the carriage returns. And I'm waiting for the page to load. Come on, kerchunk, kerchunk, kerchunk.
Apparently
Okay,
my
so-
CSS is fine when I validated it.
Okay, so this is your, do you have one style sheet or two?
I have two, one for print, one for
Okay,
screen.
so we're going to start by going back and looking at your HTML. And I'll do that, might as well do it through the validator because it's easy enough. And let's see how you coded your HTML to indicate the stuff that works in the print style sheet. Again, let me make this bigger. Easier to read? Okay. So let's look here at your link statements. Okay, so now you've got 3 style sheets, so that complicates matters. Yeah, this is not what the directions say to do. It's not necessarily wrong, but it just makes it more complex, which is, you've made your work harder by having a 3rd style sheet. Because
Also,
now we have to look at another style sheet to see what styles are carrying through. Really, this style sheet should all be just your screen style sheet. Okay.
Okay, so I can just like copy, if like once class is over and everything to fix it all, I can just easily like take everything that I have in one and put
the
it in.
problem is this style sheet is clearly for screen. This one is a generic style sheet, and this one is clearly for print. So what's going to happen is this. The browser is going to take both style sheets, the exercise 10 one and the screen one, and is going to use that for your screen styles. Okay? So you could just combine the styles and style sheet into your X10 screen style sheet. Essentially, that's what the browser is doing. So that said, think of these as one style sheet, and then you got your print style sheet. So these two are your screen style sheet. Yeah, it does kind of make it a little trickier depending on where the conflicts are between the style sheets. So let's look at your classes. So where did you indicate what you want to appear when it prints?
All the way at the bottom.
So you've got the print view class, as I had used in a demo, and you have a screen view class. All right, and the screen view is the validator buttons, and the print view is the statement that it was printed. Perfect, looks really good. That's exactly correct. Nothing wrong there at all. That should work
Okay.
fine as long as the CSS is correct. So let's now look at your CSS, and you have two classes, screen view and print view. So now we have to look for those in the CSS and just make sure they're being properly used. And if they are, it should work fine unless there's a problem with that third style sheet. So now we're going to look at CSS. Now, the problem is I have to actually look at the actual CSS style sheets because the browser is going to show me both style sheets here. Actually, I can still see them. Let's see. Yeah, the browser puts the style sheets. The CSS validator is showing me all the styles together, which is not the way I need to do the troubleshooting. So normally that would work for viewing the CSS, but not now. So we have to go back and look at your actual original CSS. So let's look at your X10 screen and print. So we'll start with the screen. Okay. Print view, display none. Screen view, display block. Perfect. Looks really good. Exactly right. Your screen style sheet saying, don't show the print view stuff, show the screen view stuff because it's your screen style sheet. Now your print style sheet should have that reversed. And your screen style sheet, I'm sorry, your print style sheet says display block print, display none screen. Perfect. Except, except, okay, here's the trick. Let's look at your HTML again. Well, that's not your, that's just a block piece of HTML. And that's just a piece of your HTML. That is the real HTML. Okay. Okay, so the div includes stuff that's not text in the div. So what you've got is anchor text is what you want to make disappear, and it's a child of the div text, of the div itself. Now, because of inheritance, it should work, but we may have to modify it. So when we look at your page, and I'm looking, of course, obviously at the screen, I'm not seeing, oh, what happened there? Okay, a little bit of a weird thing there. Okay. Am I seeing the validator? Yes. Okay, so the screen is working fine. There's the validator buttons, and I'm not seeing the print statement. So it's working great. Let's just double check the print. So the way I double check the print is I go to print, and I'll look at the print preview, and it's going to be kind of small, but without having to print it, I can use the print preview function. So that would be at the very end, or apparently blank page at the end. Wow, I can't read that. Can you read that? I think that says what you want, right? Right there, is that it? I think it's working fine, because there it is. I'll print page, was that page 9? It's page 8, because page 9 is blank. I'm just going to print page 8 on my printer right now, just to show you that it looks like it's working fine. So that part looks good. Now I also see you didn't really finish it because you didn't do the text, changing the text to be sans serif when I'm sorry, changing the text to be sans serif when you look at it on the screen, because this is serif type. And then have it be this serif type in the print. So you haven't finished it yet.
It has to change it to sans serif when it prints it?
I don't know if you can see this. Can you see that bottom line?
Yeah.
So it's exactly right. It's printing out the statement that says it was printed when you print it. See that? And you don't see that at the bottom of the screen. You see the validator buttons instead, and you don't see the validator buttons at the bottom of the print. So that's working exactly right. Good job on that. You just have a little more work to do on this.
Yeah, I need to figure out where would I put that? Because the Alice font that's inside of a screen view.
Well, you see all this text on the screen? This is all
That's
serif, right? This
yeah,
is all serif text.
The Alice one was going to be my sans serif, but
Well, I
said
want
to put it in there.
so you need to change all the serif text to be sans serif. So in your screen style sheet, whatever you have for your font declaration, you need to change it to a sans serif font. Okay.
Mhm.
So oh wait, that's your HTML. Where's your CSS? Let's go back to your CSS.
We had it on something else, I think.
The problem with viewing the CSS through the validator is it's going to show all the styles from all the style sheets together. Oh. You still have one of those weird curly quotes in the CSS link.
Yeah, fixing everything.
Okay, that looks good. Yeah, see, it's hard to see. It's showing you all the style sheets together here. So what you need to do is you see this where you're indicating your font stuff.
Yeah, the Alice one is the one I got from my sans serif, but I had to put it in the screen view.
Yeah, you want to do that the opposite way. You want to do that in the print style sheet. So take your font rules and put them in the screen and the print style sheet, and in your screen style sheet, specify a sans serif font. Okay, so you need to still do that. And but you're on the road to recovery here. It looks pretty good. You've done most of this right, but you do have a few things to clean up.
Okay.
So, but it looks like you understood the screen print dynamic, which is important. So let me stop there and take some more questions. So is that good enough to get you going right now?
Yeah, I just need to change the sans serif.
Okay. I know this one's a lot of work, but yeah, you're close. You're close. All right. Next question.
I have a question.
Yeah, Tony. Is that Tony?
Yeah, it's me. Hello.
Hi.
My question, my page is not completely done,
Okay.
but it has to do with the flow with the picture and the text. And it just won't be exactly like, it won't like margin right next to the picture. And I tried it in my HTML and I tried it in my CSS. It's not working too well.
Okay, you've got to put your character turns in too here. I mean your paragraph tags, because these are a lot of different paragraphs here.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's not done. I just put it in there so I don't have to go step by step.
I see you've got the curly quotes, you've got the M dashes. I mean, you've done most of it. So yeah. So it was about text near the pictures?
Yeah, it was more about the flow because I just tried to fix it, trying to make it like right next to it. Like I thought maybe it was the padding or the margin, but it just wouldn't get it where I want it to be.
Okay, so now the images, it looks like you've got them directly in the text with no, okay, so images are inline level elements. And literally, it looks like, is this image right in here between these two words?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. So it looks like after this period, you've got your image tag, and then after the image tag, you've got your quote, but I'm not used to it, blah, blah, blah. So, and you can do that with images because images are literally inline level elements, which literally means in a line of text. Yeah. So the browser treats an image as it would any like word. It's in a line of text, right? So you need to kind of take it out of that. So the way to do that is to put something around the image. So you can put the image in a div, for example. Now here's the problem, because you don't have your character turns in, I'm sorry, your paragraph tags in yet. So once you put your paragraph tags in, your problem is kind of solved right off the bat, because then the image is not going to sit inside a line of text. You're going to put the image between paragraphs, you see.
Okay.
So once you go back to your original text and you look at where the breaks are for every paragraph, and you put like P/P, 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 then you put the images just between two paragraphs. Now, so that will take care of that. Now, that may not style it the way you want, but that'll take care of that problem. Now, another thing you can do is you can put the image, and you remember you did this before in the float exercise. You can put the image directly in a paragraph. And so if you put the image in a paragraph with a float left or a float right, and a lot of people alternate that, or they do them all float left or alt right, or float right, then that will give it a little more of a flair that you probably are looking for in terms of having the images not just be in a straight line down or something. But the main thing is you have to put those, once you put the paragraphs in, then everything will become easier. So, yeah, since two of you right off the bat didn't put the paragraphs in, I'm wondering if I need to make that a little clearer in the exercise. I might need to add some there. It says, make sure you put those paragraphs in, but I think it's in there. So I would have put that in there. So, but anyway, that's the deal there. And so once you put so the first thing is put all your paragraphs in at the beginning of every paragraph, and then decide if you want to put the images between paragraphs, or you want to put them literally in a paragraph and float it left or right. So when you get to that stage, you can see what you like better.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, there are lots of other ways to do it, but those are the simple ways.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, next question.
Hey, John, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca.
So I got to pretty much everything except the first letter exercise. I don't recall you teaching us that last time.
In other words, that's the drop cap.
Yeah.
Or the initial cap, depending on how you want to do it.
Because everything I read about that, I understood how it was written. The problem is that I only wanted to do it once, and if you code the way I was trying to style it with a paragraph,
is you had at the beginning of every paragraph.
With every paragraph. So I was trying to teach myself the other rule, but I lost it, so I gave up.
So what's the way out? A class. You give that first paragraph a class, and then you apply the first letter only to the paragraph that has that class.
Okay,
right?
Because I think I did that to my small caps too.
Yeah, so it looks like, yeah, so I don't know what, is this Tony's page? Who am I looking at?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it looks like you did that, right? I mean, it looks like you created a class for that, perhaps, because this doesn't start with it, but this does.
Yeah, I just told it
that she didn't do any carriage returns. I mean, she hasn't.
Well, it looks like here she did. It looks like you do have paragraph marks here. You don't have, this is a wall of text that needs to be broken down. But here it looks like you've got a paragraph. Or maybe a dig.
Yeah, I think if I can remember, I think I didn't put a class. I just make sure that like the first letter of the paragraph just was enlarged. So
you can also you can also do that with a local style, just on that paragraph, or you can create a class. So if you the better way to do it is to create a class, and then you can use that class again and again if you wish to. But the way you would do that, like so, is it Rebecca? Let's take a quick look at yours, and then show you what you need to do. So I'm waiting for the page to load because my computer's slow, or my internet's slow, or something is slow. See, you put all the paragraphs in. That's what we're looking for. See that? Not a wall of text. Okay. So, and it looks like, okay, it's the font you're using. I didn't think they were curly quotes at first, but I see that they are. It's just an interesting font.
Yeah.
So let's say you wanted that T to be your first letter drop cap or initial cap, and then you can make it drop cap or initial cap depending on how you position it. But so that paragraph, the easiest way to do it would be to give it a class. So if you
I thought about that, and then it made the spacing look a little bit different. So maybe I just need to go
And you have
back
to
and
change, yeah, then you have to kind of specify more things.
Yeah.
You're
It
right.
started to kind of unravel a little bit. Exercise 10. Yeah.
So I want to show you, if we go to the exercise and we go to first, I thought, first, where's first line? Pseudo, oh, here it is. First, oh, I didn't give you links for this. Oh yeah, here we go, pseudo element selectors. Here's the link. So you look at the code in the reference, and you see here, that's first line. You want first letter.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got an example of first letter, right?
Yeah.
But that P there, okay, that means all paragraphs, right?
Right. That was where I was kind of having too much fun with the paragraph. Yeah. Too many first letters. Because all those paragraphs had that.
So you could do this. You could do a local style, and in the P tag itself, you can put this first letter, pseudo element selector, or you can give the paragraph a class like first paragraph or something. Make up a class name like first paragraph.
Yeah.
Or paragraph for initial cap, or whatever you want to call it, whatever.
Right.
And then you can actually say P dot whatever the class name is, and then colon first letter, you see. So you would actually insert the class after the P. It would be P dot your class name, colon first letter.
Okay.
Isn't that weird? I know it's weird, but that's how you would do it.
No, I was trying all sorts of stuff and it just wasn't happening. So I thought, I'll just wait and ask you.
That's a little confusing in terms of using classes. You might find it easier just to put this right in your.
And what does that look like? Because I was thinking of that, but I didn't really understand how to write that code, that style right in.
Well, let's look at somebody who's done it. Anybody want to volunteer your code? Who's done who did the first
styling of the first letter?
Yeah. Is that Gabe? Did you do
but I didn't use a paragraph. I used a class, but not for a paragraph, just for the first letter.
Well, let's take a look at how Gabe did it.
Also, you don't need to chastise me because it's not finished. I already know.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just. But look, you've got your character. You've got your paragraphs broken perfectly.
Some of them.
All right, and you've got your image floating. All right. Now, by the way, so I'm not going to chastise you, but I'm going to give you some design tips. So when you have a very narrow column of text, justification doesn't work really well on the web. You see this huge gap here, right? Because unlike text editors, unlike word processors or page layout programs like Microsoft Word or InDesign, or any of those higher end programs that you use for laying out text, web browsers are relatively stupid pieces of software. And web browsers, at least today's web browsers, and of course this will change in the future, but today's web browsers don't have sophisticated hyphenation dictionaries built into them. So like Word or InDesign or any of those programs, they have built into them very sophisticated hyphenation dictionaries of all the places to break the words, right? So that they wouldn't, they would break up, they would put a hyphen like in converse -shun, move that up to that line so you wouldn't get the gappy lines. But web browsers, you see this web browser, you're not seeing any web browser hyphenation, are you? Because web browsers, they're not that smart. So because web browsers don't have hyphenation dictionaries built into them, and again, I would expect in a few years this advice will be different, because as web browsers get more sophisticated, they will start building in hyphenation dictionaries. But because they don't, you can't really justify text in a narrow column and have it look good unless you manually go in there and start putting hyphens in to break lines. And you don't really want to go there. You don't want to hard code those hyphens in. You want that to be an automated process because text is going to reflow based on the size. So you really can't start putting hard hyphens in there. So what you want to do is not, so the bottom line of everything I'm saying is don't justify text that's narrow columns on the web. So make that flush left, ragged right. And do some justification
I do want to
somewhere
point
else.
out that it does look very different on my computer, and that's maybe because I didn't close the browser window or squash the browser window.
Well, you see, we're still getting that same behavior of gaps in the lines, what we call gappy lines, because
Right.
there's no hyphenation going on. So
I
it's not
get that.
breaking. Yeah. So it's
just
not
don't
just.
use-
And even if you were using a web browser that perhaps did have a hyphenation dictionary built in, and they generally don't, but you can't count on that for somebody else's. Right. And you've also got some weird things going on here. So, okay. Anyway, I know this is actually not.
That's
this
really
is not
weird
simple.
because it does not look like that.
Yeah, you know why? Because I bumped up the text size radically so that you guys could read it more easily. So you're probably seeing something a little more like this, or like that.
No, yeah, more like that. That's what I'm looking at.
So yeah, well, I played around with it. See, the problem is users can do what I just did, and they can say, "Oh, wow, I can't read that. I'm going to bump up the text," and then they kind of blow your layout. So yeah, and we're not going to get into the finer points of that right now, but basically you do have to be aware that when things get too narrow, browser behavior is going to be important, and some browsers will do different things. So you want to do a little testing and making things narrower. But that was not. There's so much involved in this exercise. I'm not going there. I'm not going to chastise you for that. I'm not going to take it. It's fine. If you can just do the exercise, I know that's several hours of work just to satisfy the minimum requirements of the exercise without making it look great or work in all the browsers. So I know that's, I know that how much work is involved in this particular exercise. So I'm not going to worry about those kinds of things for this. However, in your final project, that's something you want to pay more attention to. We'll get more into that. But you saw how much is involved in this exercise. There's a lot. I know this is because this is kind of preparing you for the final project, because you're going to go through some of the same stuff in the project. So how about some more questions? But you didn't curl your quotes yet. I see that. But you got the paragraphs
We're going to look at the drop cap.
Oh, the drop cap. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. I see you've an old English drop cap. Nice. Okay. So let's look at your code on that. I'm going to go through the validator to do that. Hope it validates. Just a couple minor errors. Looks like you've got some problems with the ending div tag that doesn't have a beginning. That's all. So you want to find that. But let's show source, check. The validator is your friend, you guys. And I am going to bump up the text size here so you can see. Okay, so, oh, wow, it's right there, just as I bumped up the text. Perfect. That's an easy way to do it. Rebecca, do you see that?
Yeah.
That's probably the easiest way to do it. He put a class on the span and put the span around the T. And that's actually simpler than what I was just talking about before.
Great, thank you.
And then in the drop cap, so basically you do that around whatever letter you want to be a drop cap. And then in your drop cap style, you set the size of the font to be larger. You might make it a different font. I'm sure Gabe did a couple of these things in his CSS. So let's take a look at this class of drop cap and see what he did. I'll use the validator to look at that. Oh, got some validation errors. Oops. Minor, it's just a font weight thing.
I just added that, and I was just messing around with that.
Yeah.
Like it had all validated before.
Yeah, okay. Well, you probably want to put bold or something there. Yeah, okay.
I have some questions about that too, John.
Okay, let me finish on drop cap. Here we go.
Sure.
And so Gabe changed the color. He floated it to the left, which means it's floating to the left of the paragraph. See, that's key, right? He used a different font. Prince Valiant BB Regular. Is that one that you installed custom font?
Yes.
Cool. I thought all the questions were going to be about custom font installation, and nobody's asked that yet because that's usually the thing that people have trouble with. But maybe I covered that better than the other stuff. Okay. Anyway, so Rebecca, you can take a look at what some of the other folks did on their drop caps. And
Okay.
kind of beg, borrow, and steal.
Sure, sure.
Borrow.
Thank you.
Not steal. Yeah. Okay. Next question. Gabe, you had a question?
I do have a question about the that error in particular.
Okay. Let's go back. This one here.
I was trying to style the second headline.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just assuming this to be true, but if the font doesn't have a bold variant, you can't recall bold, or you can't.
Yeah. What happens is this. When you use a font, that font has certain family parts to it. So it may have a bold and an italic and a regular or Roman and a bold italic. You know, like a standard font family might have those 4 faces. Some fonts don't have all the 4 faces. Some fonts have lots more weights and different faces, right? Now, for a font family that has many different weights, you can specify the different weights and the browser will use those different weights. But if you're specifying a lot of different weights and the font doesn't come with those weights, then the browser is going to fake it. And so if you have a regular font that's just a Roman or a regular typeface and there is no bold in that family, and you say font weight bold on that, the browser is going to just make it thicker, which is a fake bold. If you have a font that doesn't have an italic face and you want to make it italic, the browser is just going to slant it, which is not really an italic face. An italic face would be designed by a font designer to look good as an italic font. It's not just slanting it. So really it depends on the font you're using. If it has the weight or the face that you're trying to use and you specify correctly in CSS, the browser will use the right thing. But if the browser doesn't have what it needs, it fakes it. And so that's a kind of an occupational hazard of fonts. So you have to, if you think you're going to be using italics, then you want to use a font family that has an italic face in that family. If you think you're going to use something extra bold or demi-bold or semi-bold or whatever, you want to make sure that the font family that you have has those styles, because otherwise the browser is going to fake it and it'll just kind of slant the type or make it thicker or do something that's not really going to look as good as the font would have really looked if you used the right font. Does that help?
Yeah, that answers the question.
Okay.
I also have one other question, and if it's too much, just let me know. But I'm wondering how to get elements centered in a div, like an image or a piece of text. How to get it centered in the div?
Okay, that's centering is actually
Maybe that's the wrong
simple
word,
or
not
tricky
centered.
depending on what you're trying to do. Centering text or image in a div is super simple. You can use text align center. Now remember,
center. I meant in the middle of the vertical.
No, that's a different question.
Yeah, they're not centered. I apologize.
Yeah. That's actually not simple.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to center it horizontally, you can. And if it's an image or text, you can literally use text align center. And the image, again, because it's an inline level element, the browser will view it as a word and will just center it as if it's centering a line of text, if the image is the only thing on that line. That's horizontal centering. Vertical centering is actually extremely tricky. The reason, like, say you're talking about centering an image vertically, for example.
Yeah.
For the same reason, it's tricky. Like an image is viewed as a word or a letter. It's an inline level element, meaning it's in a line of text. So what you're really trying to do is center a line of text vertically. If you that's actually what that's actually the task in a sense. And that's not easy to do with the code that you know right now.
Okay.
That's actually a bit of a, let me look up some things I can point you to, because to go through that is going to take some time, and I don't have that time.
Sure, I understand.
But you can literally Google vertical centering of image in HTML and CSS, and you'll see what I mean. And there are different ways to do it. But I'm going to have to stop there because I realize we're over 7. I want to take a 10-minute break. There's still stuff I want to talk about, so we're gonna keep going. I'm not going to end after an hour, but I do want to take 10. So why don't you guys? Well, actually, are there more questions on stuff we've covered? There probably are.
Sir, it's Daniel here.
Hi, Daniel. Let me take one more question. We'll take a break. What's up, Daniel? Hi.
Yeah. So I mean, this it's not like related to what we're talking about tonight. This my previous exercise. I thought I needed some help, but I don't know. Besides class, if you could have another time that we
Sure, absolutely. Is it exercise 9?
Yeah. So
let's take a look at it now if we can, and if we have to go more time, you'll do that later. So
yeah. So if you go over my my style sheet, it's like I have everything on there, but for some reason I couldn't get them appear in my.
Okay. You know what my troubleshooting technique is? First, we make sure there's no HTML or CSS errors. That's always the first step, and that looks good. Okay. Yeah. Now, tell me what it is you were trying to do. Oh, this is the background image one, and I don't see.
Yeah. So I have my 3 images, and yeah, but I couldn't get them to appear. So I was thinking what I did wrong was to define the I mean the minimum width or maximum, like.
Okay, well you've got that right. You have that in there. I wanted to make sure you had that in there for the phones.
Yeah, I have.
And
yeah,
your style sheet is where's your style sheet? Where's your link to your style sheet?
Oh,
needs to be in the headset. That's a showstopper.
Oh,
there's no style sheet.
I forgot that.
Yeah, I think that's okay. So before we can even look at what's going on, we have to have a style sheet. So that may be the problem right there. Of course, once you put the link to style sheet, there may be more problems, but it's not going to do anything without the style sheet.
Okay, so I will look at that during break.
Yeah, you need a link to the style sheet in here, so you need a link statement.
Right. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I forgot. Okay.
So that's one reason your styles aren't working.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. And the funny thing is, here's the funny thing. If I'm on your page, right, and I say validate CSS.
Yeah.
It doesn't show any errors. You know why?
Yeah.
Because there's no style sheet. And if you scroll down, it usually says there is.
Yeah.
And I didn't scroll down before to see that because I just saw, oh, no errors. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
but now it's like,
weird.
Bingo. So, yeah.
And I started using a Windows computer that I got from Cabrillo to, so that's how I was able to get to that point. But yeah, I'm still figuring out some things. And it's on like a desktop, so I can share that screen. I mean, I can do it, but it doesn't have a microphone.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. Why don't you put your link to style sheet in, and
I will do
we can come back to that later.
Yeah.
We can talk outside of this about that, but right now there's nothing to troubleshoot yet because there's no styles.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
happens all the time. Easy to do.
Great.
I was going to say, it's probably a link path problem, and it's not finding the style sheet, but it's actually the path isn't even there. So usually what happens is you have an error in the path to the style sheet, and that's why it doesn't find the style sheet. So that would be the next step. Okay, so let's take a 10-minute break. It's 7:12. I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes. And start. Okay, take 10, folks.
Great.